If you keep pressing forward, you keep moving forward, there's somebody that around the corner that wants to help.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Welcome, everyone, into another episode of Our Stories, a podcast on women's sports in Kansas City, presented by our friends at Holiday Distillery. I'm Marleah Campbell. Super excited you're here, and super excited our guest is here. You're in for a real treat today. This is Denver head women's basketball coach Doshia Woods. Coach Woods has a strong connection to Kansas, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But first, Coach, how is preseason going? Or do you have players on campus and everything yet?
We're on the quarter system. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm definitely excited that we get to kind of connect again. We have our players back on campus. We split our 8 weeks, so we're in the quarter system. So this is kind of our preseason, and it's been nice. We have 7 new faces, so it's been nice to kind of introduce them to college basketball, considering 5 of them are freshmen. So you play college basketball, you know how that can be with 5 freshmen, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually came in with 5 freshmen myself, so we were it's an adjustment for sure, going from, that's an understatement, from the high school level to the college level. But so let's just get a little bit of background to start off. How long have you been at Denver now?
I'm getting ready to start my 3rd season.
Which
is nice. My first year was in COVID. So a lot of lessons that I always say that we learned then, but this will be my 3rd year.
Yeah, and I'm so bummed because we played Denver in our non-conference slate every year at the University of Wyoming. So we missed each other by, I graduated 2018, so that must have been 1 season, maybe 2.
Oh yeah, just a couple seasons, and we're at Wyoming this year, and we actually have one of our assistants now played at Wyoming.
One of my teammates.
Yeah. So and we have a kid from Wyoming, so it's all these kind of like Wyoming connections. But
the basketball world is so small. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw that you hired Markel. She was, I think, 2 years older than me in Wyoming. So, but this is your first head coaching gig. Is that right?
Yes. First one, I spent 19 years as an assistant. Most of that time at Tulane University for 10 years, but spent 2 years at the University of Missouri, 3 years at Oregon State, New Mexico State for a year. And then I started my career at Western Illinois, where I also played as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
this is my 22nd year overall. It's just kind of crazy because my coach would always say, I've been coaching longer than you've been alive. And I'm like, I can use that now. I can actually use her phrase. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this all started in none other than Topeka, Kansas.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about growing up in Topeka. I know it's a place you're really proud to be from.
I am. And you know me, I like to specify East Topeka.
Yep.
I am born and raised in Topeka. I think it's definitely one of those places that molded me, or I'd like to say East Topeka, born, raised, and made. Love it. I loved the person that it forced me to be, if you will. I think growing up in Kansas, you don't have a choice but to really be around basketball if you have a half a sport in you. So I'm definitely proud East Topekan, and then a proud Topeka High grad for sure, to the point where it's almost disrespectful to the other high schools that are there. But Topeka High, I feel like we just kind of stand alone, literally, in the middle of the city. So yes, proud of Kansan, East Topeka specifically.
Yeah, and if you haven't been to Topeka High, it looks like a cathedral. I spent 4 years covering sports in Topeka, and it looks like a church. It's beautiful. I mean, I've never seen a high school like it.
Fun fact is the first $1 million high school built on the west side of Mississippi.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's a fun fact. Other than, of course, Dean Smith going there is probably our other fun fact, but Dean Smith is a Topeka High grad. So
I did know that one. Yeah.
Okay,
good. And Doshia Woods. Superstars.
Yes.
So tell me how you fell in love with basketball in Topeka. And I know there was one woman in particular that helped you kind of guide you on that journey.
I didn't start playing organized basketball until like 7th grade. And I say I give a lot of credit to my 8th grade basketball coach. I think she was the first one to really see the basketball talent. I grew up in a single home, so it was 3 of us in a single parent home, and my mom didn't work at the time. So anything extra, you had to figure out how you're going to make it happen, from whether that meant a ride somewhere, any type of fees. And she was the first one to really just kind of take me under her wing, kind of encouraging me to stay out of trouble prior to like seventh grade and before. I was that person in class that I couldn't decide if I really wanted to be there or not. So I would say seventh grade. I think now it's different, but she coached the eighth grade team and really started to introduce me to life on the other side of Topeka. Honestly, growing up, I didn't get past Topeka High or the east side very much. And so I remember there was a league on the other side of town that she would pick me up, take me to. So I like to give my eighth grade basketball coach just a lot of credit for instilling in me that there's more to life than how I was raised at the time.
Yeah, for people who aren't from the area, can you kind of explain, I guess, what East Topeka is like, what it's like growing up there?
East Topeka is I think traditionally that side of town that a lot of us are low income, either single parent homes often had free lunch. I think for myself in particular, as I mentioned, my mom didn't have a job, so we relied a lot on government assistance, whether it was like welfare, food stamps. The Salvation Army happened to be a few blocks away, so that's often where we got a lot of either a meals or a clothes. So it's one of those that you're struggling to make ends meet, and if you're fortunate to have two parents in the household, it definitely gave you an advantage. But it's typically that like low income poverty side of town.
Yeah. So how did you get, I guess, so you started playing basketball in seventh grade. When did you start like really focusing on it and realizing I'm pretty good at this? I could see a future in this.
Yeah, I say once I got in high school, I started to kind of fall in love with the game. And this is a funny story. I've always been a good athlete. When there's like field days, things like that, it was usually like me, my brother, my sister, our names were always kind of at the top. So when I started playing basketball is tricky because it doesn't care if you're fast, if you can't shoot, if you can't dribble, if you can't, do all the like skill set that comes with it. So I would say though, my freshman year, I remember thinking, I'm better than everybody. Now, mind you, I've only been playing like 2 years at this point, but I remember thinking I'm better than everybody and I really should be moved up. And I wasn't. I had to play freshman team like the first half. And I was like, I'm better than her. I'm better than her. And it was probably a hard lesson. Coach Verone Ball was the head coach then of RC at the time. And she was like, you got an attitude. And I remember two of my classmates who were freshmen got moved up. And so my sophomore year, there was like one starting spot open, and I think that really started to channel me. Then I think growing up around basketball, I was a ball girl for Washburn and Topeka, and to really have a chance to spend probably an extensive amount of time, ungodly now that I think about it, since I coach for a living, how much I was around that team. I'm like, geez, they let me everywhere, pregame, shoot around. I'm in the locker room. But I think really being around them gave me a chance to see that you could compete in college and that it's okay to be passionate. It's okay to take things personally in a sense when you feel like you've worked hard. So I always give the Lady Blues credit because being around that team really inspired me to want to play at the next level. And then obviously some high school coaches that humbled me early, that kept that fire going.
Yeah, I love that. That was Mid-America Nazarene in Kansas City was kind of that for me where I thought I went to camps and stuff growing up and I was like, these are the coolest people in the universe.
Yes,
I want to play
yes,
someday. And yeah, it's cool how much
same.
that can influence you. Yeah. And Patty
Ex-
Dick was the coach at the time at Washburn, right?
Yes, Coach Dick
Yeah.
was the coach, and because of social media, we stay in contact. And it's so funny because every time I'm just like, you let me around all the time. I'm supposed to be filming the games, the cameras on one end, the actions on the other end. Like coaching for so long, it was clearly she was just doing it to be nice and to help me stay out of trouble and to inspire me. But the amount of time that she let me around the team in ways that like you might be hesitant now to let someone. I'm on the bus with them. It's not a short drive from like Hayes to Topeka, and I'm on the bus. I'm thinking I was on the bus. Like, why was I on the bus? But yeah, that team and a lot of them because of social media, we're still in contact. And any chance I get, I'm often thanking them because I'm like, y'all had to put up with me thinking I was on the team, and I'm like an eighth grader, a ninth grader.
Yeah, I'm sure they love that though, being able to see you were probably just so excited to be around and stuff. I mean, that's so refreshing to see someone who loves the game that much and like that purely when you're playing in college. And man, Patty Dick was there from the beginning too. If you're listening to this and you ever get a
Yeah.
chance to read about her background, she was in the fight in, the late 60s and early
Yes.
70s. So a great role
And
model to have in Topeka.
absolutely. You said earlier just how connected things can be just in the basketball world. So then once I got to high school, both of my head coaches in basketball, Coach Rosenbaugh and Coach Solana, played for her at Washburn. So
Oh,
it's like this, small like kind of connection where it's like this whole domino effect, and you can kind of see some of the passion watching their games, and then I go play my own games. I'm like, okay, some of this is starting to make sense because it's a lot of the same language, it's a lot of the same things. But yeah, Coach Dick was great with the amount of time and ways that she let me be around the program, and I think she knew a lot about my background, where I came from. So clearly, if I'm with them, I can't get in trouble at other places. So I think it was kind of twofold. And then Coach Dick actually ran NYSP back when the NCAA used to have a National Youth Sports Program, which was for low-income kids. And for ours, it was held on campus at Washburn. So I was a camper for a couple of years, and then all 4 years in college, that's how I spent my summers. I'd come back and work the camp.
yeah. Yeah. It's cool how, one person just really investing in you can just help you to flourish and bloom in ways you wouldn't have otherwise. And now you are that person to so many young women as a head coach at Denver. And one of the programs I am so inspired that you do is the Life U program. Uh, Totally off the court. Can you kind of talk about what that program is and how your team gets involved?
Yes, it's our Life 4.0 program. And, I think being a former student athlete myself, it was like you have all of these perks, if you will. But then sometimes I don't know who's ever really ready for the real world until it's time to be in it, right? Like
Not
none
me.
of us are.
Yeah. No.
But when I got the position here in 2020, it was some social justice. George Floyd had just happened. Mental health is definitely becoming less of a stigma. So I was trying to think of ways that I can kind of keep these conversations going when they come up and it not be awkward. So it really started around, social justice and mental health, and just wanted to provide this platform for our players to talk about things that were bothering them. I think as much as we want, we're fortunate that we are fully funded. All of our players are on full scholarship, but life happens too, and there's times that basketball isn't the most important thing for you in that moment or in that day. So the program is important that we just provide this space for them to talk about it. The one that they actually called themselves was when Roe v. Wade happened, and somebody put in a group chat, and they know how important these type of conversations are for me. And I think what I loved about that one, not because it was the most recent, but was just how it was facilitated. Like it was something they talked about that they wanted to talk about together. They all respected that they had different views on it. And it was probably one of our more engaging conversations. So I think as long as I have this platform, trying to find ways that we can bring just life to them, whether that's speakers or just an opportunity to kind of talk, and there's no right or wrong, as long as everybody's respectful. And I like this year that we'll evolve it now that we're not in COVID. We can do a lot more in person. But as I mentioned to you, I think one other time before, the program is so important that we get 20 hours a week for practice time, and I'll use 45 minutes of that and more if necessary to have these conversations, especially now that we've got a few that have been in the program who comfortable leading them, comfortable bringing different topics. We'll always make time to talk about it.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I need to tell you about our friends at DraftKings. The wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is officially live in Kansas just in time for football season. That means betting legally on same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, and more anytime and anywhere across the Sunflower State. To celebrate, DraftKings is giving new Kansas customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $5 on anything and get $200 in free bets instantly. Thursday night is almost here. Want more action for opening night kickoff? Everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. Get up 7, you win. Bet on any pro football team of your choice, and if your team leads by 7 points at any point in the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. That's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. Must be 21 years or older. Physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. 1 early win token issued at opt-in. Moneyline bets only. Deposit and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility terms at DraftKings.com/Kansas on behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, that's incredible. We did nothing like that when I was in college, and I think I would have benefited from that a ton. People who aren't in athletics necessarily, when you go to play in college, and I think specifically Division I, you have people from not just around the country, but for us, it was around the world, and you're in this one place for a lot of us far from home, and these people become your second family. So being able to have this community that spans outside of basketball is just so important.
But I think, as you know, being an athlete too, you spend so much time together. And I say this to the team all the time. It's a lot of diversity, a lot of different ways, not just in how we look, but how we were raised. And I think it's always a great time for them to realize that either we have more in common than what we thought, or I didn't realize you went through that. And so it's always been good. And unless you are in these situations to have conversations, a lot of us are just guessing what you're going through or guessing how you're feeling. And I think what really happens too is you start to realize, oh, I'm not the only one struggling with this or struggling with that. You mentioned being far from home. I think we have a kid from Colorado and one from Wyoming that are our only 2 local kids. We have a couple international kids as well. So kind of the same thing, that we're all kind of growing up together, if you will.
Yeah, and such important years from 18 to 22, and you're trying to figure life out, and you have the pressure of Division I basketball, and
Yes.
and so what do the formats of these classes, lessons, conversations kind of look like?
They can take place a lot of different places. We have kind of like a lounge area in our locker room. So that's where some of them, where it's going to be maybe a more intimate conversation. That's where our latest one would take place. But to tell you, getting the position in COVID, we actually didn't have access to our locker room unless it was a game day. So a lot of this started on the court. We would just, we always meet at half court. And I remember it was probably in the spring of maybe 2021 where maybe the verdict came down. And that's when we had a heartfelt conversation then about people's feelings and emotions. So it really, this year, probably more so the locker room. We have one scheduled at the end of the month for financial planning and things like that. Again, life after basketball. And that one will probably take place in a locker room as well. And it's separate, right? It's a locker space, and then it's like a lounge kind of hangout space to create that separation. And Zoom, we've done a few via Zoom, especially if someone wants to bring a particular topic, and that's the easiest way to get access to them. So I still think there's a use for Zoom after we're getting out of COVID, and that's another way that we'll use it.
Yeah, man, the financial one would have been nice as well when I was in college, because again, in athletics, like we had all of our medical stuff was handled through, athletics, even if it was like strep throat or something. So, yeah, it's a big learning curve. But
Yeah,
so you've
because
been doing
life
these
comes
for,
at you fast.
yeah, that is for sure. So you've been doing these for about 2 years now. I
Yes.
guess how have you seen them develop over the past 2 years in terms of player buy-in and how those conversations have kind of gone?
I think just what you mentioned, the first year it was, everyone's like, is this real? Like, are we really doing this instead of practice? Or we're going to start practice or end practice this way. Now that you're getting ready to start year 3, it's different. You're having, as I mentioned, 5 freshmen that you kind of recruited with this idea that we provide this platform. But the upperclassmen that have been around, they were one of the ones that kind of spearheaded the Roe versus Wade conversation. And I think to see them and to watch them find their voice, to be okay with, I know I'm not the only one. As I tell them all the time, I know you guys have a separate chat from the rest of us, So to watch them kind of articulate who's going to be the one to come and ask coach this, who's going to be the one to ask if we can talk about this. There's even times where if they're on social media, they're comfortable texting now, like, hey, I saw this. Do you think we can talk about it sometime? Or do you think we can learn about it sometime? So I think for that part, and really for them thinking about, as I keep saying, life after basketball, that you're spoiled in a way when you're a student athlete, especially at this level, because so much is provided for you, so much is done for you. And we're trying to just lessen that shock of just, again, life comes at you fast, whether it's a medical bill or whether it's rent or whether it's just a simple bill. For some of them, it might be their phone bill because their parents are still paying. So I think where I've seen the program evolve most is just our players finding their voice and comfortable enough to bring different topics that are now important to them, right? Initially, it was things that I thought was important, things that I think they may want to talk about, and now to see them bring topics to me is where I've seen the most growth.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about the freshmen. Is this something you bring up in the recruiting process too, just to kind of, I guess, set the expectation of, this is a key part of our program?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We tell them, their parents, we kind of give them examples. We might have a picture up from before. It's something that we talk, and it's easier with them in a sense, so then they can already have their mind thinking about, oh, when I get to college, I want to learn this. We even created this year, kind of map your path, and we'll start implementing our mentor program, which because of COVID, we had some restrictions before, but that's just another way to kind of connect them with women in the community, people in the community professionally, of either things that they might be interested in or just another connection that will kind of just do it like a mentor madness type of way. So I think we're trying to constantly in our minds prepare them for, that walking across the stage and at least having some type of network. After that, it takes time. But with the freshmen, I felt like it's been a lot easier because parents definitely want to hear that, right? It's like basketball is important, but it's not for a lot of us, or for a lot of them, I should say, it's not going to be much basketball after this time, after their time here. So trying to maximize it and making the most of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that transition, at least for me, was yeah, I mean, it's so structured in college, and you go to team dinner and you have class at a certain time and you have weights and rehab and all these different things. Um, and then it's gone. Like you wake up one morning
Yes.
and all of that is gone.
You're like,
So the
"Hey,
fact that you're
I can
preparing
sleep
them, like,
in."
yeah, whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
this is great until you're sleeping in every day and you're like, I should probably go work out, but no one's yelling at me to do that anymore. So yeah.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, gosh, that program is incredible, and I hope it catches fire and more coaches pick it up because it's just so valuable. Um, God, I think you're an
Thank
inspiration
you.
in so many ways. And one of them, I love that you're from Topeka because I know there are kids in Topeka that are like, man, if I, stick to the process and believe in myself and really buy in, I can be Doshia Woods. I can make it to the highest level of Division I basketball. But also for me, so I played Division I basketball, but I played basketball for 15 years, and I never had a woman head coach.
Oh,
Club, high
wow.
school, college. And like that said, I had a ton of incredible coaches that I'm really, really thankful for. But um, I talk about this 9 at 50 series that I think I've talked a little bit on the podcast about, and you and I did an interview for it last year. But for the course of a year, I'd interview a different woman every single week. And at the end of them, I would ask, what is one area you think women's sports still needs to grow in? And the answer I got 9 out of 10 times was we need more women in leadership positions, and we need more women making decisions in the college athletics space. So it's really cool to see you, in that position and as a role model for your team and for people across the country.
Well, thank you. It's one of those, as I said, when I got the position that, the numbers are getting better, if you will. Definitely having a female coach is different. We've heard that in recruiting often too. There's been players that we recruited that are similar to yourself that, hadn't played for a woman, so they're trying to process what that's going to be like. I'm like, basketball is basketball, and then obviously
Yeah.
in my case, you add being a Black woman on top of that, and it's like all these different layers. Again, I think college is that last step before adulthood, right? That last step before you really get out, and we're in a position where we have a chance to kind of introduce you, whether it's a female coach or whether it's just a kind of the dynamics of the team and the staff. So it's one, and it's a position that I'm very proud of and prideful of, but one that I know that like requires work daily, and there's still a lot of work to be done behind that because it's always easy to aspire to aspire to be what you can see, right? If you
Yeah.
can, and people say the old cliche like representation matters, whether you are female, a black female, however you identify. I feel like those things are important.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. And this makes me think of you have a pretty cool story with Don Staley, right?
Oh, yes, yes, and people don't believe me. It's funny you say that, people, because it was like, "Where do you keep your net?" And
Yeah.
I literally keep it on my desk, like,
Oh
no
no
one
way. We're
knows.
looking at it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 I literally keep it on my desk next to my, this is my little Doshia. Yeah, that's
Oh
that's
my
what I
gosh, I've
call
never
it.
seen that. That's so cute.
Yeah, that's just literally on my desk right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, last year, it is funny because they obviously won this past year, and so when she made the big announcement that she would give all the black female head coaches at the Division 1 level a piece of the net from 2017, the first time they won. And I texted my friend who's actually a black female head coach in our same conference. And I text Carrie and I said, "This is clearly means that she's going to win another one because you're not just going to give away something like prize possession." And
Yeah.
so
He's like, we're gonna have
we
plenty
were
more of these. Yeah.
exactly. It's like, here you guys go. But it's been such an inspiration, I think, between the net and obviously University of Denver is very different than South Carolina, but it inspires me to be great where I am. We talk with our team often about a championship mindset, and it's not just obviously cutting down the net, but it's a championship mindset in all that you do on the court, off the court, in the classroom. And everybody has an ability to be a champion. And what does that look like for you? What does that mean for you? And so it's been a motivation piece. The team comes in and out of the office often. Another fun fact, our hockey team won. So I have a puck from them, and
Yeah.
we share a suite with our hockey coaches. But, once you get that far in the tournament, you're getting charter flights and things like that. And hockey and us have the same sport administrator. And so the private plane that they took out to Boston was the same plane that South Carolina had this year. So this is like going to the Frozen Four. And I was like, crazy. Well, the last time DU won in hockey was 2017 is when South Carolina won. So crazy, crazy how everything can be tied
About full
together.
circle. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
awesome. You talk about the championship mentality. So what I guess how do you approach that at DU as a coach on and off the court? We've talked about this a little bit, but I'm wondering, I guess your main goal is taking over this program and now in year 3, what you're trying to accomplish and what you would do to where you could walk away and say, hey, that was successful. I did what I wanted to do there.
Yeah, I think at first it can be easy to kind of the easy answer is wins and losses, right? What I love about basketball, our soccer team played and it ended in a tie. I'm like, how did you guys do all that running? And like, there's not a winner and loser. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But the easy answer is right that the wins and losses. But going into year 3, we've changed the core values of our program and to make progress, right? To make progress where the P is having a purpose, being resilient, taking ownership, having gratitude, respect, energy, sacrifice, and support for each other. So I think the championship mindset, if we're able to make progress in those areas, obviously it can be a roller coaster sometimes. Our staff mission statement is we want our players to leave empowered to walk in the best version of themselves. Obviously, earning a degree, and the wins and losses will take care of itself. So, our championship mindset, if you can make good choices, which is our only team role in all that we do, make good choices and to think whatever situation you're in, is this one that you can be proud of? If this is one that you can tell your parents about, is this is one that you want to brag about? And if you can't answer those things, then you probably shouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your story for so many reasons. And one of the themes that I think is just so beautiful is that you had women pouring into you in Topeka, and now you're doing the same thing for all the women who come through your program. So I guess if you could look back and talk to young Doshia living in East Topeka, what would you tell her right now?
That's crazy. Um, I don't know. I think things definitely get better. I think one of my favorite quotes that a coach would say to me all often was, "People will help those that want to help themselves." And so I would remind her that, hard work always pays off. It's just if you have the patience to keep doing it, right? Do I want to work so hard and your breakthroughs coming, and that's when most people want to, stop or quit. So the cliche hard work pays off, but then I think the other part, especially for my younger self, is um, to stay curious about the world. Like I said, we didn't really get off the east side of Topeka very much. And so I didn't realize till I was in eighth grade that there was more than one high school in Topeka. My mom actually went to Holland Park. And so I didn't even know Topeka High was a thing until they came and said, these are the different schools you can go to. But I was always a curious kid. So I would encourage my younger self to stay curious and to stay motivated. I was always, if you ask any teacher, probably passionate about the craziest things, field day. Like who gets passionate about field day? But I wanted to compete. Passionate about the Book It program. I have an undergrad degree in English, and a lot of that was because we didn't have food growing up. And I remember the Book It program, and so if I read a book, you got a free pizza. So that's how my love of reading and writing came because I
Mm.
knew it would always feed me. So I stay curious and stay motivated, and do what you can to help yourself because there's so many people that want to help you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh. And one question I like to ask ending this podcast every time is the story is, or this podcast is called Our Stories. So for people listening to this, what is the biggest takeaway you hope people have from your story?
Though you may not have been born with a silver spoon, though you may not have been in the most ideal situation, I think now there's so many people that want to reach back and pick you up, want to reach back and inspire you that if you keep pressing forward, you keep moving forward, there's somebody that around the corner that wants to help. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's probably one thing people will tell you is I I just told this quote to the team last week that um, being lazy is disrespectful to those people that believed in you. And that's literally how I live my life every day. That I want people to know part of my story is hard work. Every day I work hard is a thank you to those who believed in me.
Hmm. Yeah, gosh, beautiful. Coach, thank you so much. Again, you're such an inspiration to me, and I love the way you run your program. And good luck this season. And I wish your team
Thank
good
you.
luck in preseason because I remember this time of
Yes.
year very well, and it's
Yes.
it's a grind.
Yeah, it's not the fun time. It's not the fun time. As I tell them, we're gonna have to run. We can't be at 5280 and walk the ball up the court.
Whew.
So
Yeah,
yeah, once we
yeah.
yeah, well, you know about the altitude. So
Oh
no, I
yeah.
appreciate you having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.